Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books, and I am back for another bookish reading vlog. I have several books to talk about in today's reading vlog. And next month in April, I will get back to doing more videos sitting down in a chair. I want to do some tag videos. I have some discussion videos I want to talk about as far as books. I want to talk about my process of writing my cozy mystery slash mystery. I don't know if it's really gonna be in the category of a cozy mystery because it's kind of, well, the mystery part of it is rather dark at this point, but I've been like working on this outline. I'm starting to develop characters. I have about 8 characters at this point that are gonna be like the main characters of the book if it turns into a series. I'm very, very excited about it. So if you're interested in reading it, let me know in the comment section below. It takes place, I'm only gonna give certain little period pieces. I'm only gonna give certain hints at the book because I don't want to put too much of it out there. I've done that before and then there's no follow through. So it takes place in very, very, very upstate Michigan in a small town. There is, I don't know how to, a woman and her son move home, and there's a reason why, and that's kind of like the cozy mystery part. And then she moves in with her grandmother, because she doesn't get along with her mom, and her mom lives in the town too, and is kind of an eccentric character, which will be explained in the book. And then she ends up living in a lighthouse. So there's a murder mystery that occurs, and that's like the beginning of the book. This person is like looking at me, like trying to turn in here. I'm like, I'm in a parking space. Just go around me. I'm parked in a parking space. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so that's kind of like the basic premise of it, and it is different than a lot of the cozy mysteries I've read. Like the reason why she's there is different. Her history of why she left the town is different. Because a lot of times I read these cozy mysteries and it's always kind of like somebody leaves the town because they don't ever want to come back to this town. That's not necessarily her case. Like she has a lot of fond memories of the town that she grew up in. She also has a sibling. That's a big part of this book. And the sibling plays a role that I haven't read in other cozy mystery lines, but I could be wrong. And I'm trying to make it different than other things I've read because I don't want it to be very similar. One of the things for me, and I love, you guys know I love the cozy mysteries, but when I read them, it's always kind of like, you know, the main character, and they've been done wrong by somebody they were in a relationship with. They move home. They didn't want to move home. They're really upset that they had to move home, but they don't have any money. They're not in a relationship. They have no job skills, basically, and they have to move home, and then they're bitter that they're home, and then some mystery occurs, and somebody kind of like picks them up off their feet and swoon. And I wanted to develop a more independent character than that, although there is a romantic element to this book, but and like, you know, it's always like the main character falls in love with like the police officer or the sheriff in town, which I love. Y'all know I love the Janet DeLeon Misfortune series, okay? I want Fortune and Carter to be together forever. But at the same time, like, I don't want to recreate what's already out there because then it's like taking a formula and just doing it like that. So I'm trying to come up with how this can all be different. And that for me has been a lot of fun in developing characters that fit different roles. And it's different than like anything that I've ever attempted to write before. So I will say this, I've always felt this way. I've always wanted to write mysteries and thrillers, but I have a huge respect for not just mystery and thriller writers. It is so bright out here. Well, I wanted to tell you the books I'm going to talk about. First of all, hold on a second, and I can't see them with my sunglasses. So the 2 books I'm going to be talking about today are Black Coral by Andrew Mayne and Darkly Dreaming Dexter, I think is the first one. Darkly Dreaming Dexter, and it's by Jeff Lindsay, and it's the first book in the Dexter series, which they based the TV series on. I'm not going to talk about The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse because that was my March book, and I will talk about that when I announce my April book, which will be on Thursday or Friday. I'll be announcing that on this channel. So, I haven't even picked it yet. So if you have a suggestion for my April book, for Peter's Book Club, put it in the comment section below. Oh, speaking of which, the True Crime Book Club, our live stream will not be this Sunday because it is Easter Sunday, and I have plans, and I know a lot of other people have plans. I'm going over to my cousin's house for Easter, so we won't be doing it that day. So it will be a week from Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's always at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sunday just is different. And that will be covering People Who Eat Darkness, and then I can't remember the name. The Last Call is the book for, I can't remember the writer's name, Elon Green, I think, and that's the book for April. So, and we're doing a giveaway on that as well, and that giveaway will be announced on my Instagram sometime in the next week. So follow along my Instagram over there if you want to win a copy of that. It'll be real easy. I'm gonna post a picture holding it or something, and then all you have to do is put a comment in the comment section below, and they'll be picked at random. Okay, so, what was I gonna say? So yeah, I've always had like this huge respect here. Now that I've announced the books, I can start driving. I've always had this huge respect for mystery and thriller writers, because to be honest, like if you've ever read one, especially one that's done so fantastically and just naturally the mystery unfolds, like this is the one thing for me, because I've read so many mysteries and thrillers, that like Gina De Leon with the Misfortune series, her mysteries are actually really well thought out. Like I very rarely figure it out by the end. Like, and she doesn't do it in like let's throw some character in the last minute. I mean, there are mysteries that you could have figured out at the beginning, but I rarely do because they're so well done. But she does them in a joking way, so it almost kind of takes away from the actual artistic genius that I think she has as a mystery writer. I really do think she's that fantastic of a mystery writer. Because, and this is why I have so much respect for mystery and thriller writers, because, you know, when I work on something, it kind of organically grows from the beginning to the end, and then I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. You can't do that with a mystery. With a mystery, when you put the first, you know, when you put word one down on that page, you have to know how the mystery is gonna end. I'm assuming, because you have to weave the murder mystery or whatever kind of mystery it is. It is so hot in this car. 73 today in Indianapolis. You have to weave that through the entirety of the book. So it's really difficult, and you have to do it in a way that it's like to weave a mystery through a book, and then not only that, but make it so that the reader hasn't figured it out by the 4th page. That's hard, and I'm not that great of a writer, period, and I'm not that, I mean, this is just, I'm doing this for fun, you know, and hoping that maybe, you know, people will enjoy reading it. But like, it's hard to do, and I think I have a pretty good mystery, but like, I'm still kind of like, I'm actually like, when Tanya and I drive around, I'll be like, okay, what do you think about this? And Tanya will say, well, maybe you should do this. Alex and I, on our trip, like, I would be like, at dinner, I would be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think about this? He's like, yeah, I don't think that works, like, you know, maybe you should try this, because like, you know, and it is a murder mystery. It has to be done in a way that the reader isn't going to figure it out right away. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And maybe that's something that you, like, your craft gets better over time. So that's what I'm working on right now. I really don't want to start all of that and putting, like, pen to paper, so to speak, or sitting down and starting to type it until I really know, like, organically, like, how the mystery is going to go. And then kind of plug in how, and I think I have it figured out. And then I want to outline chapter by chapter what's going to happen. That's what I did in my last book. And people ask me a lot, like, what did you do? How did you write your book? I literally wrote down, and actually I talked to Brent Hardiger, who wrote the Russell Middlebrook series, which is a YA LGBTQIA plus series. It's fantastic. And the first one was called Geography Club, and they made it into a movie. I think it's available on Netflix. I actually have never seen the movie. Isn't that crazy? And I've listened to every single one. Josh Hughes was the narrator of those books, and he fantastically narrated those books. But anyway, Brent Hardiger was very nice to, like, go out of his way, and I consider him the friendly person. Like, I wouldn't say we're good friends, but he's a nice guy, and he really helped me with the idea of growing organically. And so what I did was what he suggested, and that was I just wrote down all my ideas, and I turned my ideas into an outline, and then I turned my outline into chapters. And I actually, at the end of my book, I think I had, like, almost exactly. There were some chapters I crossed out and didn't write, but I think I had exactly about the same amount of chapters that I had outlined in the book. So I knew when I sat down, like writing chapter 33, like this is what chapter 33 is going to be about. And it wasn't that like, it kind of like, that it couldn't grow organically within the chapter, but then I knew what I had to achieve in 33, so that going into 34, or coming into it from chapter 32, like what had to have happened in 32 for 33 to make sense. Does that, you get it? And, that sounded so bad. Do you get it? Well, I didn't at first. I didn't, you know, but like it made it so easy for me. It really, really did, to just turn this outline. I just go in there and he said, just turn your outline into chapters. And so I did. So I'd be like, okay, you know, part 1, you know, chapter, you know, 1, and then part 2, chapter 2. And I would go in there, and that's how I did it. And I actually wrote the epilogue to my book. That was the first thing I wrote. I wrote that before I wrote the rest of the book. So anyway, and the book is not available right now. People ask me this all the time. They're like, where can I buy your book? It's not available, but I read the whole thing last summer. It's on my BookTube channel. From beginning to end, I read the entire thing. So it's like an Audible book if you want, or audio book if you want to go. It actually used to be on Audible. But when I stopped working with that publisher, like it got taken down from Audible as well, because my contract with her ended. So, but that being said, I own my book outright, everything about it, which a lot of writers don't have with publishers. So with my release of the next book, it will be coming back out. So, all right, well, hopefully, but that's kind of how you do things. So anyway, so that's with the writing of the book. I read Black Coral, which was the sequel to The Girl Beneath the Sea, and it's about this underwater investigator in Fort Lauderdale, and it was really fun. Both of these books were really fun to read because I was in that vicinity, in that area, while I was reading the books or listening to them. Black Coral was great. If you liked Girl Beneath the Sea, I think you'll like Black Coral. I would say Girl Beneath the Sea was like a 5 out of 5 to me, and Black Coral was like a 4.8 maybe. I don't know. There were periods, like somebody commented or messaged me, or I don't know how I saw it, but they said, or tweeted me and said that they were listening to it and they were having a really hard time getting through it. There were some parts of it to me that seemed very repetitive from the first book. The first book was more kind of like, it felt more like a thriller because there were people that were out to get her and she didn't know who it was. And so there was kind of like a thriller aspect to it. This one was just straight up more of like a mystery. And it was good and it was well done. But it was also a darker mystery than the first one. The other thing that's interesting is that Andrew Main writes about Florida and scuba diving, and she's like a scuba diving investigator, but he like doesn't take her into the ocean. I mean, on a few occasions, but like it's always like in a lake or a river or the intercoastal or something like that. Like it's not like out in the ocean, which I don't understand. Okay, I had to stop it because I was talking about it. I all of a sudden started talking about it. I was like, oh, my friend, and I said her name about this book. But anyway, because we were talking about this in reference to the scuba diving thing. So one of the things that I don't understand is why he wouldn't put her out in the ocean. I mean, you have this fantastic character, and she is a fantastic character, and she's this scuba diving expert. She grew up scuba diving, and she lives on these boats and stuff like that. Why you wouldn't put her out in the ocean? Why you would put her in a lake with gators and stuff? Like, and I understand it, but like, I don't know. I thought it could be. And she doesn't like really scuba dive on her private time either. Like in the first book she did, but in the second one she doesn't. So that was my thing, but I liked it. I'll read the third one. I mean, this is a series that I will definitely read and continue to read. And then per Mel, hey Mel, how are you? My partner in a true crime book club. She recommended, she's been wanting me to read the Dexter series for a while by Jeff Lindsay. And to be honest with you, my husband watched it and he loved it, the TV show, but I was like, well, what's it about? And I mean, I kind of knew what it was about, and I thought, I'm not really sure I'm gonna, on the heels of liking cozy mysteries, want to read about this serial killer guy that's like, works for the police department. I'm like, I don't know that I'll like it. I absolutely loved it. You guys, I fell in love with it. The series is fantastic. Dexter is such an interesting character. He's very likable, actually. He's so unlikable that he's likable. His sister is unbelievable. I love her in the books. And there's so much left that, like, I finished the first one, which is called Darkly Dreaming Dexter. And then I started the TV show, but I only, because Mel said the whole first season is about, like, the first book. But what was I going to say? I just started the first episode. Now I'm on the second book. I don't know what it's called. Something Dexter. And he refers to himself by these things in the book, which is funny. Because I asked Alex, I said, is he, like, in his head narrating it? Well, he goes, oh, yeah, through the whole show. Because, like, in the book, he's, like, narrates to himself. There's no way that you could do the show without him, like, talking in his head. There's just no way. The book is so unbelievable. If you're ever going to go to South Florida, that is definitely the time to read these books. Because, I mean, I'm sitting there reading it, and I'm, like, looking at, I mean, he's talking about, like, the Causeway, and he's talking about, like, the Bay Area and Midtown, which was, you know, the area that we were at a lot. And so he's talking about all these places that I was at, and I was like, and I love that. I love to go out of town and read a book that takes place in that area. I used to do that when I was, like, growing up. Like, I would always look for books that took place. I remember, like, my ex and I, we went to Cancun, and I got the book The Ruins. If you've never read the book, the movie sucks, you guys, but the book is so good. I don't remember who it's by, but it's a thriller as well. It's actually by the guy that his other book became a movie too, and I have the book, but I never read it. I can't think of his name, but it was about, like, a con deal that went bad and everybody ended up dead. It was kind of like Fargo, but not. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Anyway, so, like, that was fun to read when I was in Mexico, because it took place in Mexico. And so this was fun to read because I was in Miami and it took place in Miami. And so I like to read books. I used to, you know, like, that's why I read that Chicago book not too long ago, because we go to Chicago sometimes, you know, so it's fun to read books that take place, like, where you're going or whatever. For me, it is, you know. Anyway, the first Dexter book I gave a 5 out of 5 to. It was fantastic. I loved it. And I'm going to read the whole series. I think there's only 8 books in the series, so it's a rather short series compared to some of these series that have, like, you know, 25 books in them. And the next book that I'm going to read is People Who Eat Darkness, which is our March. I'm like halfway through the second Dexter book. As soon as I finish it, I'm going to read People Who Eat Darkness, which is the March True Crime Book Club. And then after that, I don't know. I did buy, well, so I talked on here about, that I was gifted, like, 11 credits. If you didn't, I may have talked about it on my vlog, but I think I talked about it on here too. And which was, like, the nicest gift I've ever been given in my entire life. And so, I mean, really it was. And so one of the books that I got with it was The Stand by Stephen King, because I've never read it, but it's 47 hours, you guys, on, and it's longer than, what was that Vincent Bugliani book that I was going to write, that I was going to try to read, Helter Skelter. I am going to try to read that again this summer. But I got The Stand because I wanted to say that I've read a Stephen King book, and, like, so many people just say that The Stand is incredible. So either now, but sometime, not now, sometime between now and the end of the year. Well, the closer I get to 100 books, I think that's when I'm going to read some of my long ones. Like, if I get to close to 100, which I'm already at 32 books for the year, which is incredible for me, because there was a couple years ago, like the first year I started on Goodreads, I only read 30 books that year. So between, like, 30 and 60 is where I have gravitated for the last couple years. Last year I read 100 books. That was my goal. This year my goal is 102. So if I get close to my goal, then I'm going to start listening to longer books, because, and reading them. Because there's that, what's that book called? A Little Life, I think it's called, by Hanya. Oh, shoot. I wanted to read it forever. And there's a couple books out there. Some of the Harry Potter books. I feel like I should just finish that series, even though she's so problematic. I feel like I've got to finish the Harry Potter series, you know. So there's a Six of Crows, a Crooked Kingdom, the duology. I want to finish that too, but it's like 18 hours. So there's a bunch of books that I want to listen to that are longer. So if I get closer to 100, those are going to be the books that I listen to. So anyway, and I've got a bunch of books, physical copy books that I want to read. And now that it's nice outside, I can sit outside and read, which I love to do. So anyway, that's my bookish vlog for the day. I'm going to get off here now, and I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video.